Have you just recently messed up like big time? Like maybe you failed and you're like, why does this always happen to me again? Come on, can I ever get it right? Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to talk about how to handle failure. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Danny, do you think it is possible? Okay, we're just philosophizing here. Do you think it's possible to actually live a meaningful life without failing?
Oh, failing. No, because that would assume that you haven't tried really anything, right? I mean, I think this is something we forget with failure, which is like failure implies that you're trying either new things or things you're not like an expert at. And so I think like to have a meaningful life, you got to keep developing and doing things and trying things out and learning, and that takes failure, It's just part of the
Mm-hmm.
territory. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
and
avoid
that's the bitch of it is that learning,
it.
we
Yeah.
learn through pain. So
Yeah.
like if you're not failing, you're not in pain and then you're not learning. So
And it's
anyways.
funny too, because it's funny that we teach everybody you gotta get it, you gotta get the best. And it's like, well, that like doesn't teach you how to learn though. It's really
Mm-hmm.
funny. Like you either like, it's a sliding scale, I think, when we're talking about this, how much you get out of it.
Mm. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be interesting if at school, instead of like the A students getting the best grades, it was the students who did the worst initially and who improved the most that got the best grades?
Or
And the
like if
ones who just did fantastic work the whole time, they just got mediocre grades?
or if you did fail, if you had an opportunity to like redo things and learn from it rather than being one and done. Like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots of things we probably could do that would improve the
But that
situation.
wouldn't make sense. Why would we
Nah,
do that?
let's keep
Yeah.
the old system. Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, we're each going to share a few quick tips for how to handle failure, how to deal with it. My first one is whenever you fail, remember it comes with the territory. You're not going to be able to succeed without failing, at least at some time. And I remember in the Tao Te Ching, he said that, whether you're going up the ladder or down the ladder, either way, it's a precarious situation. And so, like, whether you're failing or succeeding, either way, it's precarious. So, have caution because success may actually be worse than failure.
I love Taoism. It's chock full of like good saying. Um, no, I like that too because it does come with the territory. And like we said at the beginning, like you're not doing anything new unless have the potential to fail. So it's helpful to remind yourself that because it just lessens the pain of it, and you can kind of look at it differently. Perspectives, everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. My first one is, know what you really want, and then you can walk away when you need to or when it's right for you. Because I think I noticed like my own life, one of the things I struggled with most was especially when I didn't know the direction I was going and I would get upset with failing. But the reality was I didn't really even want those things. So like, you have to know what you want to use your yes and no to make choices. And I think it's very helpful with failure because you know when like this doesn't matter to me. Let's move on to something that matters.
Yeah, and I mean, that can sometimes be difficult to find out exactly what it is you want because sometimes you want something and then you actually start pursuing it. And then you realize, you know what? I really don't want it that much,
Yeah.
as much as I have to work for. So, yeah, that's a great one.
Hey,
Uh,
the bitch, isn't
my,
it?
yeah, right. My next one for how to handle failure is find the lesson. There's a saying that it's okay to lose, just don't lose the lesson. And this is important because we were talking about how failure is feedback. It's painful. Nobody likes it, but there's a reason that things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. So if you can find that, if you can learn from it, then you can get stronger. And the next time you attempt it, you'll have all this experience on your side. You won't be going at it from the same spot you were going at it before. So I think that's really important when you fail is taking the time to evaluate it and figure out what you can learn from it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a really good one because that's like everybody who's an expert failed and learned from their mistakes, and then they avoid those mistakes in the future. They know how to get through them to over whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing is that, we're I think we're like trained to feel like a failure. That's it. You got to walk away because you can't do it. But it's like learning is a process of failing over and over again and learning from those mistakes. So if you keep that in mind, you're progressing still, even though it feels like a robot.
Mhm.
I like that one.
Yeah, I really like that saying that the master has failed more times than the amateur has even attempted.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's the truth, right? I mean, if you're really
Mhm.
good, you likely failed a million times. Like it's just how it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
My second one is, and that goes nicely with yours, which is just keep trying too. I mean, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is you really only fail when you give up, like when you're no longer pursuing it. Sometimes that's good and healthy. Sometimes, though, if you really want something, you just keep going and just keep learning from those mistakes and keep moving forward. And you'll get there.
Yeah, I mean that's a great one. You just do it until, and anything worth being good at is worth being bad at until you can get to be good at it, you
Yeah.
know? So you just have to
And
take it
most
with the
most things that are
territory.
worth it require some failure along the way. They really do.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. So my last one is very counterintuitive to like all the advice I've ever heard on failure, but I think it is kind of important. And it is take the time to lick your wounds. So
hmm.
like when you fail, everybody's like, get back on the horse, just, keep going, power, grind, and it's just like, well, you know what? Maybe that's not the right thing for you at the moment. Like you failed. Okay. It hurts. Okay. Take the time to address that instead of like burying it and having this wound that's going to trigger you for the rest of your life every
Yeah.
time that same thing happens. Like take the time to give yourself some compassion, some kindness, to regroup, maybe to learn some lessons, and then move forward.
It's funny too. I think that's really important because you also like, at least in my own experience, like a lot of times when we fail, we're also really worried about perception, like how others see us. And if you give yourself a chance to look at your wounds, you realize that most people probably don't even realize it or think that much about it or care that much too. It gives you a chance to kind of get through that emotional hurdle where you're blaming yourself and stuff, because that only gets in the way too of your progress forward afterwards. Like you really can't commit to like getting over whatever obstacle you face until you do that. And I think that's a really good one. Because I've had that happen in the past. Like, I mean, I remember when I was starting out in academia, like I gave some bad talks and stuff, and like I felt really bad about it. But like giving myself a chance to like think it through and reflect on it, I realized it wasn't that big of a deal either. And then I was learning, it is what it is. So you just go back to it and you feel much better about it.
And
That's good.
nowadays that we're losing the attention span race to goldfish, they have longer attention
Yeah.
spans than us. It's not gonna.
Really?
People aren't gonna. Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
it
They
used to
probably do.
be. Yeah, goldfish have 8 second attention spans. People before the internet used to have 9 seconds. Now we're down to 7 second attention spans.
Oh
So
God, really?
yeah, so it's not likely that people are going to remember it for too long.
No, no, it's gone instantly.
Yeah.
That's funny. My last one is, and this is similar to your learn from it, but it's a little different. Use it to overcome yourself. So what I mean by that is like, like when we face failures, like a lot of times it's like there's emotions involved, there's fear, there might be skills that we don't know, it might be experiences, whatever, but use that, reflect on it and understand, what can I do to not be that same person that fails that way again? How can I be the person that when I'm faced with this obstacle, I accomplish it? Think that through and use that as a way to then maybe learn what you need to, reflect on your situation, journal, give yourself time, whatever it is that you need, but do that and then find your way through and overcome yourself, be that new person.
That one, that really hit me because I just had the thought that like most of our failures is because we're comparing ourselves to other people or like other ideas of
Yeah. Yeah.
what we should be like for other people. Whereas if we were just comparing ourselves to ourselves, we'd be like, okay, I failed, but I still tried something more than I did before. So why am I upset?
Yeah, right. I mean, like we're all trying to like progress. And so you've progressed. Even if you failed, you still did, right? You found out something new, figured out things. So it's like, yeah, but we're so focused on, looking at the person that's 20 years more experienced than us and comparing ourselves to them that, we always feel like we're lacking.
Hmm.
Stupid,
Yeah.
stupid world.
Yeah. Stupid, stupid world. So there you have it. You're going to fail no matter what you do. And
Yep.
instead of burying yourself in your bed and never, never getting out into the world, you might as well just have some good coping strategies for failure. So I hope after listening to this episode today, you've learned how to handle failure. If you did enjoy the episode, give it a like, share, subscribe. Also, if you want to take a couple minutes, give us a good review on like Apple Podcast. That helps out so
You know,
much. We would
like
appreciate
that,
it.
please.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next time, this is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.